Hello YouTube, Robin Hood Bricks here, and welcome to another edition of Fairground Fridays. And in today's video, we'll be doing a shooting gallery or rifle range carnival game. Cool! Roll up, come and play the shooting gallery carnival game. Yes, that's what this chap is going to be saying later on today when we have made a fully motorised shooting gallery. He is the Series 13 Sheriff, of course, and there's no real way of using him in my city until I came up with this plan, because what better than somebody dressed up as a sheriff to run a rifle range type game. So that makes really good use of him. And we're on the building desk downstairs in Robin Hood Bricks Towers today, just because the Venetian blind that I'm going to be affixing to the window of the Lego room has arrived, thankfully, but I haven't yet had time to fit it. And I need to fit that in order to enable us to start building these rides into the fairground setting, because otherwise I'm just going to do it, have to undo it and then redo it again. So that's a complete waste of time. So today we are downstairs and we are going to be doing a game instead of a ride, but it will still be motorized in line with the rules as I set out last time. And just so I don't get complaints, I'm still going to do the vehicle of the week. Taken out my people a little bit, and that is the Safari Off-Roader, set 60267, which is a really fantastic vehicle. I always like big vehicles when they look exactly like what they're supposed to represent, and quite frankly, you don't need much imagination to picture the real-life version of that, having seen this. And I really like the fact as well that you can have people mounted to the roof with their binoculars kind of looking for wildlife. Now, there won't be any real sort of lions and tigers and elephants and all the rest on the loose in Brick Nottingham, we hope, but nonetheless I still think somebody could be either safari inspired or just on their way there or on their way back, who knows. Anyway, so we'll put that into the Lego room later on, so it will be on the roads. But back to today's build, I think we need to get on with the master plan. Now, there has actually been a rifle range set before, done by Lego, but not Lego directly, because it was actually a Bricklink AFOL set, adult fan of Lego, and that was the Hot Shot Carnival set of 2019 that was made available for purchase to members of the public. So technically it counts as a set, and I do like that setup very much, apart from a couple of things. One, it's not motorized, and we definitely need ours to be powered by a motor, and secondly, it was just too big. I mean, that base plate there is actually 32 studs wide that it's on. So I want it to be a lot smaller so I can fit in more stuff basically into my fairground. So the other requirement of today, other than having it powered by a motor, is that it has to kind of fit in my table setup. And what I mean by that is that I'm going to have a base plate, not this plate, but a bigger base plate on the table, and then have 3 brick height in between it and a bright green plate layer that is going to be level with the rest of my roads and city. So to an external perspective, it'll look completely unbroken, and we'll have all these motorized rides, but without apparently any motors or wires, and that's because they'll all be tucked in to this lower level, kind of like a basement. So that's the plan. So what I'm going to have to do in this very limited space is essentially have a motor, and on that I'll have it powering an axle, maybe not quite this long, and on the axle I will have a worm gear just to slow it down, because we want the full speed on so we get the most torque out of the motor. So that'll be revolving, so let's just see that, something like that. And then that worm gear will power a much bigger gear, thus slowing down everything quite a lot, because loads and loads of turns of that will just turn into a few turns of this. So when this goes round, it will go very slowly. I've probably mauled that description, but nonetheless. And then I want to have loads of little targets kind of on this bigger gear kind of all around it. So they'll kind of pop up on one side of the range and then vanish on the other side, and then unseen by us do the other part of the circle before kind of appearing again to be a target for a player to try and shoot. And in that respect, it'll be very much like this old style Dunk the Duck game, which presumably is a euphemism for kill the duck, but nonetheless, because I'm sure dunking them with bullets proves quite fatal, but nonetheless. So just like that game where the ducks kind of come up, I think, on the right on that one, and then go across the top before vanishing on the left, and you have to destroy them all on their short appearance in view. So that's what I'm going to try and do in a nutshell. So the first thing I'm probably going to have to concentrate on is doing the mechanism, and then I can focus on doing the above ground bit, which, because of my sheriff, I'm not going to do with a kind of a clown and carnival type look, just like that Dunk the Duck did. I'm going to have it kind of with a bit of a mini western scene, just to give my Carnival and a Fairground a bit of variety. So I'm probably going to use brown palisade bricks and kind of make it a wooden shack with great big old style rifles. So the good thing about all this is that I've got plenty of space for all of my targets to do the full loop, because they'll be really going below ground into a cavity, which wouldn't be possible if I was just building this on the surface. The whole thing would have to be quite high up in order to allow for a full rotation. So I'm hoping that it will work really well. So enough wittering, let's get on with this and start with the mechanism on the base layer. Alright, so here's the start of my setup, and it's looking pretty brightly coloured, but don't be too alarmed because virtually all of this is going to be concealed by the ground level in due course. So I may as well use these bright colours that are less useful elsewhere in my city when going underneath here. So yeah, get used to the rainbow bricks. So these two colourful setups here are just allowing the axle through, but are also being the 3 high brick high supports that I'm going to need to support that ground level. So it's really just motor, axle, and the worm gear that's held in place left and right so it doesn't go sliding around by these two pieces. So that does that. So far so simple. Now I was going to have this rather large gear with kind of targets attached to it going around and being powered by this. And that would work, I'm sure, but it's quite ugly because you still see the gear. So what I thought instead I'd do is use the slightly smaller gear, which is here, and actually attach 4 arms to it because it's got these holes for pins. So it sort of achieved the same aim by being quite broad and having a good sort of size circle for all of our targets to go around, but would be less ugly because we wouldn't see the teeth of the gear as it's going around. So I'm going to add those 4 targets on there, and there's quite a few different types of targets now on round tiles in Lego. These ones have been in quite a few sets. I first came across them as part of the Friends Amusement Arcade 41127, a set from 2016, and I got some, I think, as part of a Bricks and Pieces order. Yeah, I think that's right. Anyway, my idea is that this will be supported. I'm just going to do it with my hand for now, about here, and then it will turn at that speed, and we'll see it on the game, kind of like that. So it'll be like we can only see the targets when they appear, and a new one sort of pops up every now and then. So I think that looks really good. So what I'm going to do is actually add my first bit of the real ground level there, and then I can attach this hopefully onto here where I'm hoping it will work, and then that will be sort of built into the back wall of the whole shooting gallery. So let's see if it will do it without my hand, and there we are. It's not even too noisy, so I really like that. So you imagine the person playing the game would see about that much of the targets, so they don't get too long to shoot at each one, but it's also not so slow as to make it really easy. Yeah, I like it. Cool. So now I need to basically do the front part of the mechanism, which is going to be doing the job that my fingers were doing then of sort of concealing the targets when they're not supposed to be visible. And I figure I'll kind of do that like a bit of a landscape, probably have a little sort of green hillock here, sort of to represent the target sort of coming into view. It'd be good if they were little bunny targets or something like that, wouldn't it? Sort of frolicking over the hills to vanish again if you're not quick enough. And then when we've done that, we can start doing the real superstructure on top. Right, so what is this great big black monstrosity on the front? Well, mostly it's supports for what will be the ground, being these columns of 3 high bricks, but the important bit is there in the middle. First of all, we've got something supporting the front of the axle so it doesn't sort of bend forward or tip back when the motor is on. But then also, it was quite important to get some jumper plates in here so we could get this spacings right, kind of in this dimension, because what I'm going to do is add this little green hillock on the front, which will be kind of like that, so the targets will appear over it. Oh, my thumb was in the way there, and sort of go like that. So that looks great, but what I do want it to do is to be right up to the front of these targets, and because they're just tiles on those support arms there, if I just had it on the normal brick stud widths, it would be about there. And that I thought looked a bit ugly because there's this sort of weird gap in between the targets and the hills. So I thought I'd just set them all back by half a stud by using these jumper plates on here. So that essentially goes then there. And you can see now there really is almost none or absolutely no gap between the actual target faces and that hillock. So I think it looks much better as a result. And I've been playing with all the different heights, and I think that one is about the best height. So you can see, let's pause it there, almost a full target when it's in the middle, and you can see them for quite a decent period, but never really two for any significant period. So I like that a lot. But now this front face is quite ugly. And I thought, well, if it's a countryside scene and we're kind of shooting bunny rabbits or something like that, sorry to vegans and vegetarians, but if we were, then why not have a sort of white fence in front of it all just to make it look a bit more rural? So I think that does a simple job of sort of hiding all of the unnecessary gubbins. And then we will, of course, have more ground kind of on the front like that, so it'll all be hidden. So the next stage, I think, is to build kind of a 3-sided shack, if you will. The back will have kind of the rest of this scene. I want to have kind of like some sky blue and a cloud in the sky and something like that, so we've got a real backdrop. And then, as I said before, kind of a Western style palisade brick back and 2 sides. And then there'll be kind of the bench where you kind of rest your aim when you're firing your rifle on the front. And we'll have to have this guy on ground level now, of course, rather than standing in a great big ditch. But I think I'm really impressed with the mechanism so far. It's very reliable. It's not too noisy, which seems to be one of the biggest problems with Lego motors. But the most important thing is it's very effective. So I think that'll look good in our fairground. Right, so I've added a few things since the last shot. I've added some ground level. So this will be the only ground that you'll be able to see when we're in the final fairground setting. And I can indeed add another one onto the front here. Let's do that. Okay, now it might not be these actual plates in this format, but this is just to give you an idea because I'm going to have to kind of tessellate them a lot better with all of the surrounding rides and paths and things like that. And with the plates I've got that bit sticking out, and I've even got the motor at a height that I'm going to have to sort of put something else on top of it, maybe a popcorn vendor or something like that. I don't know, but you get the idea. That's the ground level. We won't be able to see anything beneath it. And then I've just done a 1 tall layer of brown palisade bricks on all sides, just to give us the foundation. So you see, it's a lot smaller than that Hotshot Carnival now, in that we've got, what, 10 by 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Is that right? Yeah, 10 by 11. Odd proportions, but nonetheless it works. And fortunately with the walls there, the mechanism will still go round unfettered, so that's good. Right, so the next stage is the backdrop. And this was another part of the reason why I moved away from that very large gear to this small one, because then it would be, well, less in the way of everything else. Because what I'm going to do is put a inverted slope on either side, which won't be in the way of that smaller gear, just to support this wonderful backdrop. It's a bit twee, I realise, but it's a nice blue sky with a cloud, which I got in that recent brick haul, which are used as the basis for the Unikitty series, of course, and a few other things since, and a sunshine. So I thought that that could be mounted there. And again, that is not on the back wall. That's kind of above where that gear is. So it actually conceals it a little bit more and makes this whole shooting range sort of setup incredibly close. So you'll see that the back of the arms are actually touching the backdrop and the front of the target are actually touching the hillock. So just check that still works and it doesn't get caught. See, it's all very close, isn't it? This cloud is only just out of the way, but it does work. So I think that looks really good. So what I now need to do is kind of build up all of the walls around this whole setup. And I've got the side front bits, which I think will be quite low, and that'll just enable us to kind of see in from all different angles. And then I figured I'd kind of use tan bricks as the bit that you lean on. And then I'd use these really old style rifles, which are actually in old dark grey, which is why they're this sort of funny mottled colour as opposed to dark bluish grey. You can see that it's quite different. And I kind of like that because they look really, I don't know, plasticky and naff. So I think that sort of fits for the really low quality guns that you get given to use on these games. And I actually won a very, very large gorilla toy when I was younger on one of these games. It was absolutely huge. It was about 2 feet wide, 2 feet tall, 2 feet deep sort of thing. Bright pink. It was hilarious. But nonetheless, I had to kind of win it on one of these games rather. And it was only after a few goes that I realised you had to aim about 6 inches down and 3 inches to the right or left just to enable you to actually hit the target on centre. But once I'd worked out how wonky the guns were, then it was quite easy to win a prize. And obviously I hit with all three to enable me to get the best top prize. So I was very happy with that. And it lived on top of my closet or wardrobe for many of my younger years. So yeah, it was a good day. Right, so I'm wittering again. What I need to do is build the entire back wall now to kind of enclose this and maybe kind of a slopey roof or something like that so we can finish the structure. All right, so here's the game with the back and sides on. We aren't going to see this view. It might be later that I add some sort of promotional posters or adverts or goodness knows what else for the Fairground on there. But for now, it's just solid. And I want to put a kind of a pitched roof on this, just so it looks in keeping with what my plans are for the remainder of all of the stalls and things. And for that, I'm going to use dark red as a plate, just as a good contrasting colour. And apart from the big hinges that I've got to attach it, I've kind of taken a steer from all of the Winter Village sets where they have lots of stalls and carnivals and tried to put lights on the underside of it so they'd be on and flashing to attract people who want to have a game. So you can't see them a great deal, but I think they do add a little bit, especially from the side, but that looks really good. And then I do want to add a sign, so I'll just put the support for the sign on first, so that'll be there. And cleverly I ordered 5 of the targets, 4 for the actual thing itself and 1 for here. And I had another one of the rifles as well. So it's a pretty straightforward sign, but I think it's appropriate, obviously, for what we've got going on underneath. So if I just carefully attach that, don't know what angle we want it on. I might want it a little bit lower down, actually. Whoops, Robin's fallen off. But yeah, how do you like that? I think it looks pretty good. The scene is a bit twee with the fence and the hillock and the cloud and the sun with the blue sky. But I mean, it's reliable. It's very reliable. It hasn't gone wrong since I got the mechanism right in the first instance. So I'm pretty happy with that. And I think it looks really good. Adds a lot of life to an otherwise still scene. And that's why I think it'll be better than all the other ones I've seen. You're looking for inspiration just because of this lovely motor. Now, having done that, I do realise that what we are short of is a few toys as prizes. So I think I need to use these columns here, maybe even these side walls here, to support a few potential prizes. I won't kind of make it too laden because I've got my toys to add to all sorts of different Carnival games in due course. But I think a couple on each side at least would be a great advantage. And then I can add somebody who fancies their chances. And this is a little girl who's had her face painted at the face painting station, yet to be built. And she's from the Fun Pack, People Pack Fun Fair 60234. So she can be trying her luck at that as well. Cool. Right, let's get the toys on, and I think I might try that sign a little bit lower down. Right, so I've kind of dismantled these sides a little bit, and that's just so I can add a 1x1 modified brick on each of these columns, which is a bit fiddly. There we go, and then hopefully I can push that back down. And then apart from that, I've removed the 6 long tiles, which I'm going to replace with a jumper plate and a 4 long tile on each side, so hopefully that will fit on without disturbing him. Yep. And then the same on the other side, and that will just enable me to have 4 potential prizes. So I thought the girls might want a Stacy doll or a nice pink teddy bear, and the boys might want a toy car and a toy, what's that, orc, monster, beastie, something like that on this side. Now, of course, some boys might want a doll and some girls might want a racing car and so on, but that's fine. But I think that brightens up the scene quite a lot, actually. Oh, and I did move that sign down a little bit. I think it looks better there, at least from our perspective. So I think that's it. I'm really happy with that. I think it looks amazing. It's really colourful as well. You just imagine when that's all green ground as well. It might need to be slightly different level because of the motor being there, but it'll effectively be like that. Yeah, you'll just see this little unassuming shack, but be a bit perplexed as to how it's managing to get all that motion in when there's nothing behind it either. Yeah, so do tell me what you think. Well, I don't want to be accused of congratulating myself too much, but I must say I'm very impressed with this. I think it's absolutely amazing. It's better than all the rides I think I've done so far anyway. I mean, the splash of colour, all the different shapes and stuff, and the motion and the fact that it's reliable really make this a wonderful thing, and so compact as well. I think if the rest of the fairground is anywhere near this standard, it will be a real feast for the eyes. So I'm very happy with that. But as I say, do let me know if you've got any ideas for amendments or even improvements. They'll be greatly appreciated. So thank you very much for watching. Do remember to like, comment and subscribe for more awesome LEGO videos. And if you value this channel, there are many ways in which you can support it. Do check out the links in the description below. And next time on Robin Hood Bricks, I kind of fancy doing another train build actually. I just got all of the parts for one of my much anticipated cargo carriage builds. Which one will it be? Well, we'll have to wait and see until Monday. Then Wednesday brick haul, and then next Friday we'll do another Fairground Fridays when hopefully we'll be putting the tables in place. So until then, see you!